like to do something called my show setup soundbite. And you don't mention this in your bio, but it's kind of what kicked off your public life. You've heard it a million times. It's also what kicked off your fight for women, ironically, and frankly, for mothers. So here it is, the day that Gretchen Carlson became Miss America.
So now, we announce our first runner-up. It is Maya Walker, Miss Colorado. Miss America is Gretchen Carlson, Miss Minnesota.
Okay, there it is. Ironically, Gretchen, we broadcast out of Denver, Colorado, and you beat Miss Colorado that day. Okay, so let me just say this. You went from being Miss America to a famous TV anchor, including a long stint at Fox News, to being a spokesperson and advocate for women. And in the middle of all that, you became a mom. And this might surprise people, even though you're face forward as a powerful career woman. You once said this: "My career doesn't matter to me if I can't have kids." Can you explain that?
Yeah, I always wanted to have kids. I remember being in the hospital as a child. I think I had pneumonia, and I can still see myself being lifted out of the bed so that I could look through the glass into all the babies.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was something that I always wanted to do. I was actually just watching the Brooke Shields documentary, and she said the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. And I really related to it because I think no matter how successful or ambitious I wanted to be and have been, being a mother was always at the top of my list. And I actually think it's a credit to my grandmothers and to my own mother that they inspired me enough to want to do the same thing.
Yeah. Can you speak that over moms today? They may look at you and think, oh, she's got it made because she's had such an incredible career. But you would say that motherhood is something that is deeply and even more important in some ways. Like just a mom that's struggling, that she doesn't look like you and she hasn't had a career like you, but she is dedicated to being a good mom.
Let me take it from a perspective of a working mom.
Yeah.
Because I think that, there's so much guilt associated with that. And we don't ask men those same questions. When they go off to work, we don't say, hey, are you giving 50-50 to your kids today? We don't do the same thing. And so I think we put extra pressure on moms. I always said that, to be honest, when I'm at work, I'm not giving 100% to my children, and I should be able to say that and not be judged.
Yeah.
At the same time, when I'm home from work and I am with my children and I'm giving them 100%, then I'm also not giving work 100%. So I don't think that there should be, that requirement that we have to work 24/7 either. So. Yeah. People have become very successful in life without having to burn the candle at both ends, and I think that we put this undue pressure on moms especially to feel like we have to be experts at everything. The last thing I would just add is that I've read studies where moms who work have just the same amount of stable kids as moms who don't.
Yeah.
So, I don't want people to feel any sort of guilt whatsoever.
Either way. Whether they stay home and they feel like, oh, I'm not as successful as a career woman, or whether
right.
they work, I'm not doing as much as a stay-at-home mom. They both work. I agree with you. That leads to your mothering secret, the mothering secret you shared in the book. And you have a mantra, which is that mothers should not feel guilt and that they should stop shaming each other, stop shaming themselves. And that kind of leads into your mothering secret. And you have this thing that you want all moms to know. Can you share that?
Yeah, it's pretty simple, but I think we need to say it to ourselves every day, which is give yourself a break because no woman can have it all.
Yeah.
So give yourself a break. I feel like it's a curse, this whole thing about women, and especially the way we're raised as girls, thinking we have to be perfect. We're put into this perfection box. I call myself a reformed and recovered perfectionist now. Mm-hmm. I can say that after 50. I tried to do it after 40. It didn't work. So look, we put this immense pressure, and it's not just us. It's society puts this pressure on us. We raise boys to, be risk takers and jump off fences and skin their knees, and we put our girls in perfect little boxes with bows in their hair. And so I advocate parents to raise your kids in the same way, to give girls a break too by allowing them to make mistakes and to take risks, because then when they get into the real world, they too will ask for the raise when they need to do that, like boys do, etc.
Yeah. So 2 more quick questions. And speaking of giving yourself a break, you're super honest about your battle with weight. And I was looking at your Facebook page this morning and saw a picture that you posted a while back of yourself as a chubby girl in a swimsuit, and then how you had to lose all the weight for Miss America. So you really want women to understand that we all have issues. And even though you might look perfect on the outside, you want moms to know that it's not perfect, and they can give themselves a break and not feel guilty about whatever their issue is, even if it's something like, feeling overweight.
100%. And, look, I whatever your struggle is, yes, you can feel good about who you are on the inside. And because I struggled with my weight, Jenny, really what that forced me to do in a good way, and I think this is especially relevant today with social media and everything dictating how girls feel about themselves as they get into womanhood, is that I built my self-esteem from the inside of my soul instead of worrying what people thought about my exterior. And I really leaned on the fact that I was a smart girl, and I did well in school, and so I really spent time focusing on my academics. I also happened to be a really serious musician playing the classical violin,
yes.
and nobody could take that away from me. Nobody could take away my talent. Nobody could take away my smarts. And so that's how I built my self-esteem, from the inside of my core. And when I wasn't necessarily, feeling so great maybe about my exterior, it didn't matter because I felt really confident about who I was on the inside.
And that's a lesson moms can pass on to their children. So I love that. Last question. 2 things that you emphasize as a mom. Building your child up in their gifts and talents, not letting them look at the outside, but more at the inside, and instilling them with faith in God. Can you close by talking about the importance of those 2 things as a mom and bringing those things to our children?
Yes. I happen to be an advocate of music for children because I think it teaches them discipline, again, building their self-esteem from the inside out. When moms used to say to me when they wanted their young girls to become Miss America, they would say, "What should I do?" And I would say, "Have them start music."
Yeah.
Because first of all, you need a talent to win Miss America, but more importantly, they build self-confidence, self-esteem, all the things that they need to take on any challenge in life. And with regard to my faith, I was lucky enough to be brought up in a family where faith was important. I grew up in a small town in Minnesota. My grandfather was the minister at our church, and so I learned about religion through him, how important faith was, how to be humble, and that has been something that also nobody has been able to take away from me. I've never questioned my faith, which I consider myself lucky because as a journalist we question everything,
Yeah.
and I pass that along to my children. I feel that that's the greatest gift that I can give my children as a base in their life and a foundation that no matter what they're struggling with or going through, that they can always have somebody to speak to, and that is God and Jesus when they go to bed at night or any other time during the day.
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you for being in the book. Thanks for the interview. God bless you and your mothering, my dear.
Great to speak with you again, Jenny.
You can read more of Gretchen's mothering story in my book. It's called Mom, You're Amazing. It released about a year ago. I see moms out and about shopping, looking at their phones in the park, taking their kids to school, volunteering, bringing their children to church, wherever I see them. And I think, do they know? Do they know how important they are? And do they know that they are impacting our world by the way they raise the next generation? That I often say moms should be walking the red carpet of life because of the impact they have on our world and the way in which they dedicate themselves to their children. And I think so often moms feel insignificant.